We can start the session.
Yes, we can start.
Okay. I'll just share my screen now. Okay, now we are having the tutorial, so I prepared for you some information about so-called hydrogen economy. Well, I will give some initial information on some short lecture on this particular topic, and then I will invite a guest professor who is already now with us, Matjaž Knez. He's coming from University of Maribor. It's one of our Slovenian university, and he has developed one educational program to kind of challenge kids from primary schools mainly, to challenge them to start thinking about using alternative fuels, hydrogen in particular, for fueling our cars, our everyday life. So he will at the end present this now kind of very successful program to you. So let's start with this. You know, when I was a kid, we were kind of reading one interesting writer, French writer, with the name Jules Verne, and you know, I was really hooked on his books. And I couldn't know that like 40, 50 years later, you know, actually, I will be here and try to realize one of his idea that he has published in a book already in beginning of 19th century. So you see, he was a kind of science fiction writer. Maybe you even know him. You know, he was a kind of science fiction writer. He was writing of all kind of, you know, like fictitious ideas. And in one particular book, Mysterious Island, he wrote down this, what I will quote here. Yes, my friends, I believe that water will one day be employed as fuel, that hydrogen and oxygen, which constitute it, used singly or together, will furnish an inexhaustible source of heat and light, of an intensity of which coal is not capable. When the deposits of coal are exhausted, we shall heat or warm ourselves with water. Water will be coal of the future. Now, can you imagine in 1874, he had foreseen electrolysis and using hydrogen as a fuel. That's really amazing. And now we are trying really to realize his initial idea. So let's have a look on this hydrogen economy, what the hydrogen economy really is. Is hydrogen fuel? Well, in terms of how we conceive fuels today, hydrogen is not really fuel. Namely, we know methane is fuel. So we can burn methane, and as a product will be carbon dioxide and water. And during that process, some energy will be released. However, water, of course, is not fuel. If we want to produce hydrogen, we must first invest some energy, create hydrogen, and then burn the hydrogen to generate, to form water molecules again. So you see, in ideal cycle, of course, we wouldn't gain any energy out of this process. Well, quite opposite. In reality, we don't get even amount that we have invested, we don't get back. So from that point of view, well, this process doesn't seem reasonable to use. However, if this energy input comes from something which is, let's say, free, let's say solar energy, Well, then the situation is completely different. We can catch the solar energy and use it to split water on hydrogen and oxygen, and then we get some very useful energy back when we burn the hydrogen. And well, this really represents basics of the hydrogen economy, but not only this. So I wrote down what actually people think what hydrogen economy is. This is an expression that describes a sustainable system of hydrogen production, storage, transport, distribution, and consumption. So all these different segments of hydrogen economy should be considered. Of course, if we want to fuel our everyday life with the hydrogen instead of oil and coal, we need to bring hydrogen and the energy that hydrogen captured, we need to bring it to our homes, into our cars, into our factories. But why we are talking about that? Very simple, because if we can use renewable energy sources to split water, then the hydrogen economy represents perfectly clean energy cycle. There's no emission. When we're burning hydrogen, we get water back. It uses also the decentralized energy production. What do I mean with this? Now we are pretty much strategically dependent on the oil countries, as it says. You know, countries in the Arabic Gulf, some Scandinavian countries that produce a lot of oil. In Africa, there are oil refineries, and also there in South America and USA, but it's local. So many parts of the world depend on importing oil to their countries for their needs. So, but we have water everywhere around, well, almost, and we have sun energy. So if we can use these, then the energy production can really be decentralized. It's also a mobile energy source. We can produce hydrogen pipelines and distribute hydrogen around to the consumers. And you know that would also be, we could also achieve energy independence, self-sufficiency. Of course, if we install enough capacities in every countries and every regions. So you see, there's a lot of benefits, but there are also some problems. I will show you some concepts which are close to realization. Well, two such cases. But there are special cases, of course. I will tell you why special. One is Iceland. You know, Iceland is geologically very active area. There are volcanoes there and a lot of geothermal energy. So Iceland has got an idea to use, well, not only idea, they are realizing that big time. Now, they are using geothermal energy to produce electricity, and then from the electricity, they can electrolyze water and produce hydrogen. And then they can, of course, distribute hydrogen around pipelines to the factories, to the urban districts, and so on. So this is their clean cycle, really. So another example is Hong Kong. Hong Kong has installed a lot of wind turbines because they got this windy regions. Now these wind turbines, the idea is to again produce renewable energy to be used to electrolyze water and to fuel all the customers with the hydrogen. Now later, I will also tell you what we are doing in Europe, but this is kind of so new and ongoing that I really want to spend a couple of minutes at the end of our talk. Okay, now a few facts about hydrogen. Now, the problem is that hydrogen does not exist in nature in a free form. So therefore, we cannot use it as a fuel, but it's rather like an energy carrier. On our planet, it exists only chemically bound to oxygen or carbon, mainly. Yeah. So we got it in the water, and we got it in the hydrocarbons. So we have to kind of release it from these compounds. And to do that, well, it's highly energy consuming. Electrolysis or other means like a lot of hydrogen is produced really from fossil fuels by steam reforming process. But of course, that process releases carbon dioxide, and we didn't do much with respect to environmental sustainability. If we produce hydrogen and in the stage of hydrogen production, we release carbon hydroxide. So this is not proper way. And then hydrogen, of course, is explosive, which cause some safety and social problems. And namely, well, I'm not sure if I want to have a tank of compressed hydrogen in front of my bedroom. That would feel a little bit itchy. And another very interesting characteristic of hydrogen is that it burns with ultraviolet flame. So we can't see the flame of hydrogen when it burns. And that means if hydrogen will burn through some pipe, we can accidentally get burned because we won't notice that, but we will notice our burns, of course. Another thing, hydrogen is very light and very small, the smallest molecule. So it's highly diffusive, and that makes a problem for long-term storage of hydrogen. Namely, hydrogen can escape through the walls of the tanks, through the crystal lattice, like perfect crystal lattice. It can diffuse through because the molecule is so small. And that means that if we would store compressed hydrogen in the tank, with time, the pressure in the tank will go down as a result of loss of hydrogen through the walls. And now we are coming to more complex problems. Namely, even if we resolve everything what I've been talking to you now, we still have a problem how to implement this hydrogen technology into our society. I'll just give an example now. Who would want to buy a hydrogen car if there is no fueling stations for hydrogen? Nobody. And from other side, who would want to build the fueling station if there is no hydrogen cars around? So you see, this is kind of vicious circle, and the introduction of hydrogen technologies for that reason is coming very slow. And for that reason, because we have small number of cars produced, small number of fuel stations produced, everything is expensive. But it's expected to get much cheaper when the mass production will start at some point. Okay, what hydrogen economy consists of? First of all, hydrogen production. Of course, we talked a little bit for now about that. Then we have this intermediate segment, storage, transport, and distribution. Well, we can store hydrogen compressed or liquefied. So all that requires some extra energy for the storage. We can store it also in solids. I will talk a little bit about that later. We can transport it. That's not such a big problem because we have several means of transportation: pipes, roads, railways, sea, That's fine. And then it's distribution, which is again is not such a big problem because again we can distribute it through the pipes or through some central stations to any kind of systems. So for now, I kind of identify two major problems. One is hydrogen production and one is storage. And maybe third one, which I previously mentioned, is kind of social awareness for implementation of this technology. And then we got hydrogen conversion to release the energy, which then we can usefully use in our gadget devices, in engines and so on. That is done mainly in two ways, either by burning hydrogen and using the heat which is released, or by oxidizing hydrogen through the fuel cells, which then directly convert its chemical energy into electrical energy. But we will be talking about that as well. And around all these different segments, there is a segment of safety. Everything must be perfectly safe. And a lot of technology advantage, a lot of progress has been done on that level. Really, more systems, hydrogen systems are more and more safe. And they are coming to the point where the safety will not longer be an issue. Okay, let's start now from Beck's side and talk about hydrogen conversion. Well, I'm not going to talk much about the burning hydrogen for heat, because that process is straightforward. But I just want to introduce your fuel cell. Fuel cell is just opposite to electrolysis. During electrolysis, we split water on hydrogen and oxygen with the use of electric energy. Yeah. Now, in fuel cells, we combine hydrogen and oxygen and we get out electric energy. So we are in the one cell of the fuel cell, in the one semicell, in the one side of fuel cell, we are kind of introducing hydrogen. On the other side, we are introducing oxygen, and in the middle we have electrolyte or membrane with some nanostructured catalyst, and the protons diffuse through the membrane, and they react on the catalyst with oxygen molecules on the other side. During that process, electrons are released, and we can run them through the circuitry to get electric current. Well, the benefit of this process is that this process is not thermodynamic Carnot cycle. We talk about Carnot cycle in the morning, and we have seen that the Carnot cycle has got quite a lot of limitation with respect to efficiency. Now, this is not Carnot cycle, so we can obtain much higher efficiencies than in some thermodynamic engine. So this is one commercial fuel cell, yeah, of this particular producer Ballard power system. Now, these fuel cells can give us power of 150 kilowatts, and they state in their specifications that the efficiency of this fuel cell is 71%. It consumes 2.2 grams of hydrogen per second, with slight overpressure. However, if we calculate these numbers, really, if we use these numbers and calculate the efficiency of this fuel cell, we'll come to only 56%. Well, I shouldn't say only, because still this is a lot. If we compare it with the internal combustion engine, when we would have it around 30 towards 35, 30, 35, this is almost double. But well, I'm a little bit angry because they're trying to fool us in the specifications. Still, okay, let's consider we have around 50 to 56% efficiency, and that is much better than the internal combustion engine. And if we can run a car on this, we would, in general, increase the efficiency of the automotive, of the cars and the engines. Now we are coming now to hydrogen storage. I said this is also a problem. Yeah, well, you see, it is a problem. Hydrogen has got, to one extent, very high gravimetric density. So it means 1 kilogram of hydrogen has a lot of energy. However, hydrogen has got very low volumetric density because the mass density is so low. So 1 liter of hydrogen contains very little energy. So we have to, with smart storage of the hydrogen, we can improve that in a way that we would increase volumetric density of packing of hydrogen in some storage tanks or storage media. And at the same time, maybe even increase the gravimetric density, or at least, not reduce it. So we have several different means now for storing the hydrogen. We can compress it, or we can liquidize it. We can also bind the hydrogen into some media, and mainly these are metal hydrides. I'll talk about that later on. But whatever we use, you see, we do not reach the gravimetric and volumetric density of gasoline or diesel at the moment. So still, if we want to store, let's say, one particular amount of energy in the form of hydrogen, our storage will be much higher than it would be in the case if we would want to store some oil products. In addition, for all these processes, we spent additional energy to compress or to cool down the hydrogen, or to bind it into the metal hydrides. Well, I will talk a little bit about this, which seems to be a more modern approach and more interesting approach of storing hydrogen, which is actually the storage inside the crystal lattice of metals. Now we are talking here about absorption of hydrogen in metals and desorption. So by absorption, we form metal hydrides. Well, another thing is that they might be quite dense in the terms of their density, mass density, 40 kilogram per square meter. And well, I apologize. This number it tells us how much hydrogen we can store in a cube meter. Now, but the problem of hydrides is that it's very difficult then to release this hydrogen back from the hydride. So to release it, we need to increase the temperature high in order to basically decompose metal hydride. And we have other medium, and these are zeolites. These are mesoporous structures, well, pretty much like that, which can capture the hydrogen molecule inside their little pores. The pores are, a part of their crystal structure. And similar also, the mechanism of storing, similar mechanism of storing is also in carbon nanotubes. In both these two media, which are cheap, zeolites are cheap. Well, carbon nanotubes are not so, but zeolites are cheap, and it would be great storage media. And hopefully the development of these approaches will result in storage of about 60 kilograms of hydrogen per cube meter. Okay, so of course we have to have also then the mechanism how to release this hydrogen after it's stored. As I said, one is the temperature that we can decompose the hydrates, for instance. In some cases, you see, we can do that just with the reaction with the water. But unfortunately, then the medium, the storage medium also chemically changes, and then we have to regenerate it. So all this release segment requires some energy input, which reduces overall efficiency of hydrogen economy. And now we are well at the beginning, hydrogen production. So here I give you all possible ways to produce hydrogen. Not all are sustainable. As I said, with steam reforming, we can produce hydrogen from crude oil, from coal, or from natural gas. Hydrocarbons, they involve some hydrogen, and we release this hydrogen, but unfortunately, we also release carbon dioxide, and this is absolutely not sustainable way. Although today about 95 or even more hydrogen is produced by this way. Then we can use nuclear power. Some hydrogen is produced directly in the nuclear reactors, but these are nothing really to consider for real purposes. But the other way is to use to use electricity, energy, electric energy produced by nuclear reactors to electrolyze water and produce hydrogen. This is already a better way because we do not release carbon dioxide. Well, but we do produce some nuclear waste, of course, and we have safety issue with nuclear power plants. Of course, perfectly green approaches are using solar energy and for electrolysis or hydro energy, or wind energy, wave energy, geothermal energy, using renewable energy sources to electrolyze water and produce hydrogen. Well, we can also electrolyze not only water, we can electrolyze some other substances which would then later release hydrogen. But the important is what kind of energy source we use here. We have to use renewable energy sources. There's yet another approach which is also sustainable. Now we have a lot of wood chips, organic waste, biomass, which we can use to steam reform and produce hydrogen. And this is also considered as a sustainable, because if we would if we would leave this organic waste to decompose by itself, it would anyway produce carbon dioxide during these decomposition processes. So we are just kind of capture this decomposition and perform something useful out of it. As I said, I mean, look this pie here, yeah? Now we have now production of hydrogen, which is almost half of the hydrogen is produced from natural gas, 30% from oil, and 18% from coal. Only 4% with electrolysis. So this is what we now have to change in the upcoming years and produce much more hydrogen from electrolysis in order to be able to run our hydrogen economy in sustainable way. Now we are producing, as you see, 50 million tons of hydrogen per year. Not all is used for energy purposes, but a lot of hydrogen is used in chemical industry. And this production is increasing year by year because we are implementing more and more hydrogen technology. And let me give you some smart solutions. How can we produce hydrogen from solar energy? Well, very nice approach is this tandem cell, which combines photovoltaics and electrolysis. So in one cell, there is an integrated photovoltaic cell and electrolyzer. So we capture solar energy, convert it to electricity, and we use this electricity immediately, to electrolyze water. Now, of course, all the efficiency of such system will depend mainly on the efficiency of photovoltaic cell. So here I have this number, 8% efficiency of the solar light, which actually means 8% efficient photovoltaic cell. But my slides are a couple of years old, and if I would now browse for the state of the art today, this number here would be close to 30. So this is how we are with the development of new materials and new approaches, how fast we are increasing the efficiency of solar cells, of new solar cells. Now there's another possibility how to use solar energy to produce hydrogen. We can split water directly with the solar energy, via photocatalysts. And photocatalysts are semiconductors. We will have 2 lectures on photocatalysts on Saturday. And remember what I'm telling you, because we're going to talk much about this. The photocatalysts are semiconductors on which we can excite electron from valence band to conductor bands, and we can use these excited electrons to split water and produce hydrogen. Fortunately, for now, the efficiency of this process is still very low. However, we got abundant of solar energy, and we don't care so much about efficiency. The solar energy is for free. So if we implement, maybe further improve this process, we could have really a lot of energy for free. Okay, so we are coming now to some kind of conclusions. And we identified some fundamental problems. Let me start. Let me now tell you what we want to do in order to improve the hydrogen production. So in the terms of photocatalysts, of course, we have to further develop materials that will be able to absorb more light and will be very stable under the irradiation. We don't want the solar light would cause what we call photocorrosion, which is degradation of a material under the influence of mainly ultraviolet light. So, and we have to, of course, adjust all the electronic structure of the photocatalysts to be able to efficiently generate free electrons and then efficiently use them for the reaction of water splitting. Well, the physicist told us that there's no fundamental constraints which would prevent us from developing very efficient photocatalyst. But we material scientists, we have to work on that intensively in order to get the solution. So, where do we stand with the hydrogen economy today? First, I want to say that in the last 10 years, tremendous progress has been achieved in several segments of this economy. We have produced quite efficient fuel cells, and more we expect in upcoming years these efficiencies to be even further increased. The storage of hydrogen, well, it's quite fine today. We have really good tanks where we can compress hydrogen to very, very high pressure, up to 700 bars. And by compression, then of course we increase volume capacity. And yeah, then all things of new technologies are getting out in all these segments of hydrogen economy that I was mentioning, and especially in automotive technology. Basically, hydrogen cars are available. They are available. So we have in the car, we have a tank of hydrogen, and we have fuel cells, and the rest of the car is identical to the electric car. The safety here is also kind of meeting the standards for handling and usage of hydrogen. So we are not, well, we are still afraid of hydrogen, but really not because that would be justified. Still, we have to do we have some challenges for the future, especially to reduce the prices of the fuel cell. You know, the catalyst I was showing is based on the platinum. So for that reason, the fuel cells are fairly expensive. We need, for instance, to find new catalysts, cheaper catalysts, and reduce the price of the fuel cell. And yes, the fuel cells also suffer a little bit of problems with durability. They can, you know, they can go down with their performance in time. So still something can be done on increasing the gravimetric density and volume density of hydrogen storage. And infrastructure for hydrogen should be not developed, but really built, constructed, and implemented. So all that then, you know, would help us to develop economically feasible technology. Well, if there is no profit in technology, nobody will use it, nobody will produce it. So we need to come to something which will be economically feasible. Environmentally sustainable is another criteria. So we need to use renewable sources for the production of hydrogen. And there is something else. We have to implement that in society. If we produce everything here and people will not accept it, we got a problem. So Europe has started a clear strategy supported with the big money to build a hydrogen economy all across the Europe. The Germany started with their clear message. We will use hydrogen as sustainable fuel. So then we need to have this strategy how to start hydrogen economy. We need finances, we need intellectual dedication of industry, financial from government, and academia, of course, must contribute with the development of new technology. We have to focus on the most, that is not missed, that is most important obstacles, and work on them from the fundamental and applied science approach. And the products must be profitable, otherwise nobody will want to be involved. So as I said, things are in progress. They are in progress very intensively in Europe, also in some parts of Asia and North America. And this is really now started off. I'll give you one example of the projects that are already finished or in progress in Europe, for instance. There's a lot of so-called hydrogen valleys already implemented. So we want to spread this hydrogen valley concept to become a global phenomena. This actually, what does it mean? It means that you select one particular geographic area and convert all the energy economy into hydrogen economy. I'll give an example how that would look. Actually, this is a real case, although it's just a cartoon. Now, this is Holland. They got a lot of wind there and offshore wind farms, so which produce renewable energy. So they take this renewable energy in and electrolyze water, and then they distribute hydrogen around the consumers. And that actually is already in place. There are many of such hydrogen valleys in Europe. You see Austria, Italy, and Germany. I'm happy to say that we have just established one which will cover North Adriatic area of 3 countries, Slovenia, Italy, and Croatia. But that is also spreading towards USA and Canada and towards Asia. So still, together with all this technology implemented, we need to be sure to have positive acceptance from the public, and to make kids interested in studying technologies, in understanding technologies and embracing these technologies. And I'm telling you this because now I would like to introduce my guest today, Professor Knes, who has developed a really world-recognized educational program for kids to make them interested in these new energy technologies. And I'm happy now to give opportunity to Professor Knes to present this program to you. So I will stop sharing now my slides, and I would like to ask if you can allow Professor Knes to share his slides.
Yeah, thank you, Professor. I have changed the room, and welcome, Professor Nate. Yeah, so you can share your slides now.
Hello, do you hear me?
Yes, we do.
I have just one question. Before I start sharing, do I need to switch something? Because I would like also to share the sound of my screen, or it's not necessary?
Yes, we will make hi, hello, Matthias.
Yes, okay, yeah. Do we hear each other? Yeah.
Yeah, nice to see you.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
okay.
Yeah, I will ask this one volunteer. Nipun, are you there?
Sir, I'm here, sir. Amit.
Yeah, Amit, please change this one.
I have changed the role, sir.
Okay, yeah. Now, Professor Matthias, you can share the slides.
Okay, I will do that immediately.
Yes.
Okay, so I think I'm already sharing, right?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so now I will go to my slides. Sorry.
Yeah, thank you and welcome at IIT Jodhpur virtually. We will hope to see you, physically sometime. Yes.
So I hope that everybody do see me and can see also my screen share. Okay, and my screen. Okay, dear Professor Valant, dear students, dear professors, and dear guests. Once again, hello from Slovenia as well, and good afternoon or good evening to all of you. And I can say that I'm really happy that I have been invited to this lecture, and thank you once again to Professor Valant for inviting me. I'm honored to give you a short lecture today about the issue which was slightly already mentioned by Professor Valant. I titled my presentation today, The Importance of Rising Public Awareness for Faster, Sustainable and Technological Transformation. And like Professor said, today it is not enough that we have just technologies, because these technologies usually are used by us, by people. And if people are not aware, if people do not like to change their, let's say, business models or their everyday behavior, nothing will change in that positive way, like policy or the government or the company would like to manage or to achieve. So, at the beginning, I would like to give you just a few theoretical things regarding to sustainability, and maybe later on I will also show you what we have actually done in Slovenia through H2 student program, which is the free and open educational program for young kids, young people. Young kids, because these young kids are people tomorrow, they will be the next customers, they will be the next decision makers, and I think that now is the right time that we start working with them and make them sustainable aware. Maybe for the short introduction, as was already mentioned, I'm coming from the University of Maribor, from the Faculty of Logistics, and I'm an associate professor. And beside that, I'm also wised in for economic affairs, head of Green Technology Lab, and of course, like it was mentioned, head of this H2 student program. And regarding my research work and also my teaching fields, here you can see these are sustainable development, sustainable transport, and green technologies, especially now in last years when I was involved, when I have been involved in this group of people working with on hydrogen. I'm, let's say, pretty much familiar with hydrogen, but not as an expert of the technology, but as a professor who is dealing with making awareness of people about these new technologies. So maybe for the introduction, I'm sure that the word sustainability is pretty much familiar to all of you. And I can say that sustainability today can no longer be managed in a silo, nor can our clients focus only on mitigating negative impacts on society and planet. And instead of that, I think and I believe that climate and sustainability are already increasingly being built into the core of organizations or societies, and all of this is reflected in purposes and missions managed across operations and crucial to engagement with investors and policymakers alike. I can say that organizations or societies who recognize these changes and take actions to reorient their strategic directions have the potential not only to protect but to enhance their reputations and positioning for the future success. In fact, I'm sure and I believe it will become a license to operate for most firms and institutions in the future. Being a sustainable company or being a sustainable society means to understand and actively manage the environmental, social, and governance impact along your value chain, and ensuring that your company's business model will remain viable in the future. I'm sure you're aware that United Nations 17 Sustainable Development Goals provide actually a framework and guidance for all of us for this, for companies, societies, and companies need to focus on these aspects which are most important to them. But not just companies, the sustainable mentality needs to be transferred to the smallest cell of society, that is the family or its family members, and this is, like we know, people. Sustainable transformation is actually the process which can last for a very long time if we do not do it properly. You know, the Sustainable Development Goals and the Paris Agreement on climate change call for deep transformations in every country that will require complementary actions by governments, civil society, science, and businesses. You know, yet stakeholders lack a shared understanding of how these 17 SDGs can be operationalized. Here, I would like to introduce you to these 6 SDG transformations as modular building block of SDGs achievement, but I will not go deeply inside through all of them. I just like to say and rise up that it's really not obligatory, but it's to must do that we take things holistically. So that's why we are talking about blocks, that blocks which goes to each other. And you know, each transformation identifies priority investments and regulatory changes, calling for actions by well-defined parts of government working with businesses and civil society, and these are people. I said that I will not talk about the equations Professor Walland did, but in my opinion, you know, I think that I'm talking about the social equation. The new social equation is a future that is human-led and tech-powered, and people and technology must work hand in hand. It's about how human ingenuity combines with technology innovation and experience to deliver faster, more intelligent and better outcomes while building trust across the value chain for all, for us as a humanity, and of course for our planet, which is only one. You know, we may have been, or no, we can have the best machines, but without people who have the energy, the will, and the people who understand the full context of sustainable transformation, I believe, and I also think, that we will not achieve the desired goals and preserve the planet the way we want it to. So therefore, I think every society needs to communicate the whole big picture to people so that they will understand it and want to change it as well. You know, what they say, people are the wealth of every organization. However, the emotional capital of each is very important. This, however, can be influenced by proper leadership. And yes, if people understand and with the right low carbon technologies, we can achieve these sustainable goals. You know, this HO student program, which we established a few years ago, is a program which actually became my mission. And I know that, you know, hydrogen technologies breakthrough will happen faster if various publicists or stakeholders are informed about it. And in preparing this HO student program, we joined forces together with one of our Slovene companies, which is called Ecubes Technologies. And this company, together with its partners, is also developing the project which is called Zero Emission Mobility Corridor Slovenia. And this project is now already becoming wider, but I will talk about that later. And as a part of this project, Zero Emission Mobility Corridor Slovenia, Ecubes also support promotional activities for clean energy by promoting hydrogen technologies and raising awareness of such an approach positive impact. And HO student is actually this activity during this business project, which I will mention also later on. This HO student is free educational competition program, and like I already said, it was established as a part of the infrastructure project that builds young people's competencies with hydrogen. Just a moment. Before we started with this project and preparing the materials for this project, I used my previous experiences. In the year 2009, I led the project of setting up the first charging station of electric vehicles here in Celje, where I live. At that time, I'm talking about year 2009, electromobility in Slovenia was still in its infancy. This charging station of mine was only the 5th in Slovenia at that time, and I said first one in my city at all. And when we finished this project and we set it up, this charging station, we followed the charging statistics after the setup, and we found out that there wasn't much going on with our station then. For the first time, people, at least the vast majority, were not familiar with electromobility. This has not been talked about much in Slovenia, and there were just a few electric vehicles on the roads that would need such infrastructure. And the conclusion of this project, what I've learned from this was that we may have been a little too fast for the market at that time. I'm speaking about year 2009. And what was my learning lesson? When you, and this is my lesson, when you introduce new technologies to the market, proper communication to people or to society is also necessary. And maybe this slide shows one thing which is not in English, but is in Slovene, which actually shows that at that time at Slovenia roads, we had just around 700 electric bicycles, around 150 electric motorbikes, and maybe just just 4 registered electric vehicles. So we were really too early for at that time. But now, like Professor Walland already mentioned, everybody are talking about hydrogen, and I think that now the beginning of the new era of hydrogen is really coming. We know that there is a lot of talk happening now about introducing hydrogen into our business models and everyday life. But regarding my previous experiences, I think that we cannot do the same mistake we did it last time. And therefore, in addition to technological integration, it's mandatory to communicate in parallel with people and inform them about hydrogen and the changes that might or will come for sure. Here, I would like to mention or describe the project, which is called Zero Emission Mobility Corridor Project in Slovenia. This is the project, actually business project led by Cubus. And they would like to deliver infrastructure for zero emission mobility where hydrogen technologies will play a crucial role. And here you can see that this company is dealing with the production of the hydrogen through the electrolysis, through storage, and then of course the usage of this hydrogen. We are talking about green hydrogen in, of course, in the transport. The proposed project in Slovenia will deliver 16 hydrogen clusters with total capacity of 32 megawatts of electrolyzer hydrogen generation and fleet of over 1,000 hydrogen vehicles. And here you see this is the map of Slovenia, and here are these hydrogen clusters which will raise up in the coming years. Here on the right you can see the objectives set by the QBES and its partners, and what is need to be mentioned as well, that till 2027 we will also reach the CO2 reductions up to 130,000 megawatts equivalent yearly of CO2 emissions. So this is quite a huge amount, but we are actually at the beginning of it. Now this project is actually becoming more wider, or if I say more broader. Professor Valant already mentioned North Adriatic cross-border hydrogen valley is actually the unique intention in this area, where actually three countries are gathering together, and they would like to make something to change this region. And if we know that in the chain, if we connect to each other and if we look for the synergies, we can be better and we can achieve much more. The beginning of this North Adriatic cross-border hydrogen valley started last year in November in Slovenia, when the opening of the first hydrogen filling station took place. And the opening and the conference that followed were attended by the greatest eminences in the field of hydrogen. Also, Professor Valant was there. We had a lot of experts from Europe, and I can also say, and I'm also proud that this initiative is also very, very supported by the European Union. Here below I have one link, so I'm asking the host if is it possible to share this short movie with the students. Okay, so I will try to. Just a question, do you have a voice of my movie?
Maybe you should stop share and then share another screen. Now we still see just your slides.
What about now?
Just slides.
Just slides. Okay, so that means that I need to
stop share and start new screen sharing.
Stop share. Okay. Okay, and now I will share once again, and I will go to Google Chrome. Okay, maybe I will try now once again. Let's try. Do you hear it?
Yeah, now we see it. Yes.
Okay, and also you have a voice.
No.
So there is no voice.
Yes, sir, we are not able to hear the voice from this video.
Okay, I will stop now and I will ask, is it possible to hear the voice of the video? Because that's why at the beginning I asked, do I need to share something differently or?
No, I don't think we will hear the voice, but maybe you can comment on during the video.
Okay, then, yeah, okay. Okay, now I will stop sharing again and I will start sharing my screen again. Okay, so I hope that now you see again my slides. Start it here. Okay.
I think we are seeing some other screen, not the full screen of the slide. So check if you have some other screen. Now we see your selection of all slides.
Okay, sorry for that. What about now?
That's fine.
Do you see the slides now or not?
Yes, we can see.
Okay, so we can proceed with the background of our Asia student program. But it's really shame that you couldn't hear the voice of these videos, because I also prepared 2 videos and we will see what we'll do with that, because otherwise, okay, I will try to describe the videos anyway. So, but if I continue with the Asia student program, I can tell you that based on this experience from the beginning, Asia student was actually established in the year 2019, sorry. But before we established the full program, this program was actually established on the experience which we got from the Asian Games in 2018. I will tell you what actually equips actually the father of this Asia student program did in Asia. Equibus company has delivered hydrogen-powered electric vehicles to Jakabaring Sports City, Palembang, to demonstrate the zero-emission mobility technology during the Asian Games, which was in 2018, like I said. And our actions there were supported by Imperial College, one of the world's top 10 universities, and Equibus, like you see on the slide, were running a 3-week long education roadshow in Indonesian cities, providing hands-on technology workshop for over 1,000 young people in South Sumatra and Java, plus open access engagement for all visitors to Jakabaring Sports City, home to many of the Asian Games venues. I can tell you that children in Rainforest assembled a Lego hydrogen car and then competed with each other. And this was their first experience with hydrogen, and the kids really enjoyed it. And this program was actually part of a wider Equibus strategy, which delivered hydrogen-powered clean energy infrastructure across the region via a complementary project across the power generation and supply and transport sectors based on the technology. Here you can see the infrastructure of the Asia student program. And I can say that based on this experience on Asia and my experience from the past, we established this Asia student program. The main purpose of Asia student program is to arouse young people's interest in sustainable mobility and hydrogen. The program's primary goal is to raise young people's technological awareness and inspire them to choose studies and professions related to new hydrogen technologies. Sorry?
Can you make this slides in slideshow mode? Actually, we are not able to see the full screen. Complete screen is appearing.
I don't know what is happening. Just a moment.
Please present it in slideshow mode.
So you are not seeing the slides now?
Yeah,
No, it's
slides
better.
are-
Just run the presentation.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so I
No,
hope you see. You see it now?
Now it moves you to the to some mode where you can see all these different slides, next slide and all that.
But why?
Just go back without showing the presentation itself.
Just a moment. I'm really sorry, but I don't know what is happening. Just a moment.
You stop sharing and
Stop sharing again, and I will start sharing again. Okay. What about now?
Now run the presentation.
Okay, I will run the. Run the presentation.
Fine.
Yeah.
It's working now.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
Okay, sorry. As I said, the purpose of the H2 student program is actually to work with the young people and make them interested in this mobility, sustainable mobility and hydrogen. And the program's primary goal is to raise young people technical awareness and inspire them to choose studies and professions related to hydrogen technologies. You know, by making young people aware of the positive effects of using these H2 student technologies, we are spreading the idea of sustainable mobility, the usefulness of hydrogen, and the potential uses of H2 student technology, H2 technologies for the general population. And because we know that there is a lack of competencies in the field of hydrogen in Europe, we want to use our H2 student program to contribute to the achievement of the 2030 Agenda pipeline. Hydrogen technologies and green hydrogen, we know, will be key factors in achieving these goals. So linking renewables to zero emission transport is a fundamental task for a low carbon society. And to promote hydrogen and emissions-free transport for young and future generations, and to be inspired them to learn more about hydrogen education in this direction. Here on this slide, you can see actually the infrastructure of our program, and you can see it's actually split it in 5 levels. On the level 1, we actually work with kindergarten kids. We go to the kindergartens and we play with them and we tell them stories about the sustainable mobility. Then level 2, we are doing it in the primary schools. We do so-called hydrogen events. We do the lectures, then we bring Legos and give the Legos to them in the spare parts, and kids are tasked to assemble a hydrogen car, and then on the end they all compete with each other. Then we have the level 3, which is high schools level, which is a little bit advanced level. And then we have level 4 at the universities, where we do prepare symposiums and workshops on the topic of hydrogen. And then we have a level 5, which is actually the level we are calling level or trainings for H2 student mentors. This is actually the level where we give this program to the young people between 25 and 29 years old. These are actually the youngs who are either they are finished their formal education or they're unemployed, and we try to attract them to become to come to our program, become HSC student mentors, and then these HSC student mentors work with the kids in the level 1, 2, or 3. And then on the roof, you see, we have a lot of companies which are actually supporting this program as well, because through this program, companies would like to get the experts from the field of hydrogen with the hydrogen competencies into the real business. Here, for example, I would like to show you a few photos how actually it looks like. Like I mentioned, we started in for our first season in year 2019-20. And in the first year, the program was running also in Croatia and Slovenia. We visited 11 high schools. If we included more than 1,200 young people, 44 mentors. Then in the second season, due to COVID restrictions, we visited just 3 primary and 2 secondary schools, and just not much young people were involved. But this year, maybe you know that these COVID restrictions are getting off slightly, and we already started with our program in primary and secondary schools. A few more photos about what is actually happening at our events. Here, for example, in the picture, you can see that young kids get the Legos in the spare parts. And this is actually the result of this car, you see. And then on the end of this event, all kids, we have a polygon, and they are competing with each other. We have teams. And on the end, everybody are happy because they also get the really good prices for that. And like Professor Walland said previously, this program was well accepted here in Slovenia and in Croatia as well, because this program is free. If you ask me who is actually paying for our activities, we have a model that in a region where we are doing these Asian student events, we try to find a sponsor, organization or somebody else who give the money which cover our costs, and we go to the school, and school gets this program for free of charge. And why this program is so popular here in Slovenia? Because you know, kids like to play, and because all the time during our 4 hours workshop, they're actually playing all the time. They're playing with Legos, they're competing. We have some quizzes. You see on this picture, they drive and they remote the car by their computer or by their phone, and this we really use the equipment and technologies which is up to the kids' interests, and we are using actually the learning by doing concept, and that's why I think this is the best method that children like something. You know, sorry. I remember once when one of the principals came to me and said, "Professor, you are so good, you know, that kids are all the time with you. They also they didn't even find time to go to the toilet at your workshop." So, and this was something which meant to us that we are really doing something great and the right thing. Another thing which I would like to mention to you is that even after first year of this program, we were awarded and we received the award for the best promotional project in Slovenia in the field of renewable energy sources. And here is one photo from the ceremony when we received the prize. I'm here on the right side of this photo. There's something else I would like to share with you, that after this prize, everybody knew about the HSC student program, and then we were invited by the by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Slovenia. And we made a promotional video about H2 student. And this promotional video was delivered during the presidency of Slovenia, of the EU presidency of the Slovenia. And this movie or video was actually distributed to all countries of the European Union. Here is also the link of this video, but I will not show it to you because previously we saw that there is no voice on your side. So maybe I have no problem. I can share these slides with the host, with the organizer, and maybe later on those who would like to take a look at these videos, you can watch it anytime. So I will just continue with my presentation. There is another thing from the Embassy of United Kingdom in Slovenia. We were also invited and they asked us if they can use our Lego hydrogen car for their promotional video. So now we are preparing also that. Last year, our H2 student was recognized as one of the 8 most influential promotional programs globally. So it was something huge for us. And here is actually the H2 student mentor program, which we are also working on in the last few months. Like I said, this is actually the level 5. It's mentioned for young people between 25 and 29 years of age. And this project will not be done just in Slovenia, but also we will proceed to Croatia and Hungary. And right now we are preparing the documentation. And we are applying to one of the EU calls. And hopefully, if we will go through this procedure, the project will start on November and will end then in the May 2025. Here below you can see a lot of the companies which are already supporting our program, and I think that through our activities the list of these supporters will also grow. There is another thing I would like to mention and share with you is H2 Student Grand Prix. This is actually the competition, which is actually the international competition. Here in the photos, you can see that kids are actually assembling a small real hydrogen car, and they compete between teams on the polygons. And last year, we also received the license for Slovenia. And this October, we will start organizing and doing these events every year. And let's say the winner of the national competition will then go to the international level. And every year, the final of these competitions are in different countries. So this is actually the magnet which these young students are really like. And for example, here in Slovenia, we already have a lot of schools which will become part of this competition. Now I would like to slightly close my presentation because I also prepared another movie, but I will not share it to you. I mentioned why, but this is the video from the event which happened actually this week in Croatia. As you remember, I mentioned this initiative or project North Adriatic Cross-Border Hydrogen Valley. And actually in Slovenia was the first workshop, and the second workshop was in Zagreb, Croatia. And there was also one Mr. Stefan Taylor from Area Science Park from Italy, the director. And in this video, he actually summarized all the activities which are happening in the field of hydrogen within Slovenia, Croatia, and Italy. And he said, and he summarized that how important is that all stakeholders cooperate. And he also said that only this way, cooperating with each other, looking for the synergies, and with this holistic approach, we can actually reach our common goal, which is, we all know, better, sustainable world. Thank you once again. Sorry for these troubles with the technician, and sorry for not showing you all the videos, but as I said, I will send you this PowerPoint presentation and you will be able to watch it anytime you will have time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Kness.
Thank you.
So, well, we wanted now together to introduce to you all the activities that are going on in technology and society regarding the hydrogen economy. Yes, there was emphasis on Europe and all the initiatives that are triggered now in Europe, but that's normal because we are in this society here, and it is right that we show what is happening here. So now I would like to open this tutorial for the interaction with you. So we would happy to discuss any your comments on this and to answer any questions you might have.
Yeah, thank you very much, Matthias, for this nice presentation. This one, you have showed this one how we can use hydrogen for the practical applications. And I think this one is very useful, this one for the student to excite them, this one, how to make basically these hydrogen cars and products, this one. So now I request this one, participants, if they have any question, this one. Amit, you can unmute if someone is having any questions.
Participants are requested to raise their hand if they have any queries. So there is one question from Amit Kumar. He is asking, what problems are there with using hydrogen on a massive scale?
What problems are there with using hydrogen for what?
At large scale.
Sorry, didn't catch this. Can you repeat the question?
Yes, sir. What problems are there with using hydrogen on a massive scale?
At mass level, this one, he is saying mass level production in big cars.
On a big scale.
Yeah, yes.
What problems are there? Actually, hydrogen is now used on a big scale. It's used in million tons. One major issue now with hydrogen is how to produce it from renewable sources. We can easily produce now millions of tons of hydrogen from fossil fuels. That's not a problem. We are doing that. However, that doesn't resolve the most important issue, and that is sustainability of technology that we're using today. Yeah. Now, the problems are on the production side, but also on implementation of technology. This is what concerned the consumers. Now, of course, because we are not used to buy hydrogen cars, we don't have infrastructure, so we must slowly develop and introduce the hydrogen technology in our everyday usage. So I would say that for me, my personal opinion is that on the side of hydrogen production at the moment we have the biggest issue. On the side of production of green hydrogen, so it means sustainable way to produce hydrogen. That's the biggest issue. Everything else, it can be resolved.
May I add something, Professor Vallant?
Of course.
And I think it's also my personal view that from the consumer perspective, why people are not buying hydrogen cars on a massive scale is that, first of all, these cars are too expensive, right? And the other reason is infrastructure. There is no infrastructure. For example, in Slovenia, we set it up just one charging station, and I know that when we asked Toyota, will Toyota start selling the hydrogen cars in Slovenia? They said no before we do the tests of these charging stations. So this is also the reason. So, for example, I live in Celje, and my closest filling station for hydrogen is approximately 1 hour and a half away from my city. See, this is also the reason. So there is a lack of infrastructure. I think that now all efforts need to be put in the building the infrastructure, and then in the parallel, this massive scale also will happen on the consumer side. I know the prices are a bit high, but with the infrastructure and with the higher demand for these cars, the prices will go down, and then the market will do all the things.
And certainly you can't start this implementation with public money, with the private money at this time, because there's no real business at the moment on this in this segment. There are no profits, so we need to kick off this technology by public money, and then slowly, kind of move it towards the private sector.
Mm.
Have we got any more questions?
Professor, yeah, our next question is related to previous answer. Like Sumit is asking, will hydrogen, oxygen, fuel, and electromobility develop in the future in automotive industry? Actually, he want to ask the future of this hydrogen fuel cell in the automotive industry.
Yeah, well, if we want to use hydrogen as a fuel, then we will certainly have to implement fuel cells in the cars, just because we need to convert hydrogen to electricity. It seems that in the cars we not use hydrogen for internal combustion, in the internal combustion engines, but the better solution certainly is to convert hydrogen to electricity and run cars by electricity. So current cars are constructed in this way. They actually contain fuel cells, hydrogen tank, fuel cells, and then the electricity runs the car.
Actually, the hydrogen car is actually the electric car, right? Yeah.
Okay, so thank you. I hope Sumit, you have got your answer. So right now we don't have any particular questions from participant side. Sir, yeah, I have a small query to Professor Valent. Actually, earlier we were using platinum, and nowadays palladium is used as catalysis in this electrolysis process. So as we use this catalysis, this price of these metals increases in international market. So again, it is a big challenge to find some alternative material if we go for this electrolysis or the photocatalysis.
Yes, you are right. This is one of big challenges in electrolysis as well as in fuel cell technology. Yes, there's a lot of work done in that, and I know that there's already some progress made. Researchers were able to reduce the amount of platinum used in these technologies, significantly reduce amount of platinum. Going down, the one way of reducing is to go down to single atom catalysts. So instead of having clusters of platinum, nanoparticles of platinum, they want to keep single atom catalyst, single atom platinum deposit on the substrate, which, it results in less consumption of platinum and cheaper system. Another thing is to alloy platinum with some cheaper metals, but of course that should be done in a proper, smart way in order not to reduce the catalytic efficiency.
Okay, okay, thank you, Professor. So, is there any particular material as an alternative we are presently using for this catalysis?
Yes, there are attempts to use copper, alloyed copper, and that has shown to be possible way to reduce the price of fuel cells.
Thank you, Professor. We have one question from participants. There is Mirza Rohan Ahmed. He is asking that can we use hydrogen fission to power a city?
Well, hydrogen fusion or fission.
Uh,
So if you mean like fusing together deuterium and tritium, what we talked a couple of days ago, well, you see, that is the big challenge. If we manage this, then we will resolve all the issues about renewable energy. We don't need to use photovoltaic cells anymore or nothing similar. We will have plenty of cheap energy, clean energy, and hopefully, well, not me, not my children, but maybe their children can live up to this new technology. So we have to, as a human race, we have to put money and our efforts into developing this technology, yes, but that is for our children's children, and they will be gladful if we do that for them.
yeah, thank you, Professor. Actually, it seems a very promising technology, but lot of efforts we have to put for this.
And
There is another question. So
that's
there is
a
another question.
lot of money, very expensive development process.
Yes, Professor, there is next question from Chintak. He is asking, how does your country policy supports implementation of hydrogen technology?
Well, yes, thank you for this question. It's very important. As I said, unfortunately, we cannot start purely with the private money. We need some public money support. And now the major support really is coming from European Union. European Union developed some financial schemes, competitive financial schemes. We actually apply with a different kind of projects to the European Commission, and then they select the winners, which would then receive grants to develop particular parts of technologies, but not only technologies. As Professor Knes said, also some educational programs, for instance. So the European Union has got a strategy, and European Union has devoted big money to kick off this hydrogen economy.
I hope you have received the answer of your question. Is there any participant who can ask directly, can raise their hand? We have sufficient time to ask the questions. So participant can raise their hand if they want to ask. So I guess there is no more question. Yes, Professor
No
Mahesh.
more
now.
questions. Yeah. Then we can close this session. And I would like to thank again Professor Matthias Kinch, this one, and of course Professor Wallan, this one, arranging for this tutorial, nice tutorial for the hydrogen, this one application, how to make the economy. So thank you very much, and see you tomorrow again.
Thank you. See you tomorrow.
You're welcome. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.